going to look at percentiles. Now the nth percentile is going to be gotten from Pn, like that percentile is going to be n out of 100 into capital, not into, sorry, it's like this. It's actually resembling the formula for the quartiles, just that here you're attaching the n out of 100 minus the cumulative frequency before out of the frequency within times the class interval. For example, the 80th percentile P80 is going to be equals to L1 plus 80 out of 100 n minus the cumulative frequency before out of the frequency within times the class interval. Now, I don't know here if by now some of us can see what I'm trying to say. We shall just get 80 out, maybe if the n is 50, we shall say 80 out of 100 times 50. This goes, so we get 40. Now, when we get this 40, we got the cumulative frequency and we see what is just above it, then we shall mark that class. I don't know if that makes sense. That's how we're able to find the percentile. Now, just to help us understand, someone may think, where are we getting percentile? What is the use of the percentiles? Percentiles are actually positional. They help show us the position. Now, what do I mean? They are going to help us show. They're going to show us the position. When you have the percentile, let me give an example. We have 100 students in a class. We have 100 students in a class, and they've done a test. Now, the best student has 75%. So this 75% is representing the mark of the best student. However, when I want to find percentiles and I reach the 99th percentile, the 99th percentile, what's the at 99th percentile may be 75. I don't know if this is making sense, because in as much as this student scored 75%, he is at the 99th percentile because he is the best student, because 99% of the students are below him. I don't know if that makes sense. So like when I say 99th percentile, it means 99% of the values are below that. Or if I say 80th percentile, it means 80% of the values are below that. So meaning, if I'm trying to find, if I say the pass mark, I want 5 students, 5% of the students to pass. If I say I want 5% of the students to pass, I'm going to say 100 minus 5%, and I get 95%, and I get 95. Now, the 95th percentile is going to help show me that at the 95th percentile, 95% of the students are below that mark. That means if I get the 95th percentile, that's going to give me the mark at which I can chop maybe everyone. I can only maybe promote the top 5%. I don't know if it's making sense. We are going to, for this specifically, I may have to work it out and show you what I'm saying. But that's the literal interpretation of the percentile. It's position, it's giving us the position. So if I say I want to find maybe the pass mark, if I only want 10% to pass, I'm going to say this is 100 minus 10. I get 90. So at the 90th percentile, 90% of the students are below it. So I'm going to, but let's first look at some concept, then I think we shall have an example on the percentile. Now, percentile still can also be found from the ogive. So when we are looking at the ogive or the cumulative frequency distribution curve, I'm going to show us how to find the percentile and even the quartiles from the ogive. So I said we shall look at that. We're going to look at an example here, but let's first look at something called the middle percentage range. So I can ask you, compute the middle x percentage range. And now this is simple. We just get the 100 minus x out of 2, this percentile, and we also get 100 plus x out of 2, this percentile. Now the range, we're going to subtract 100 plus x out of 2. This percentile, we are going to subtract 100 minus x out of 2. This percentile. So maybe, I don't know if it's making sense in this form, but I can say compute the middle 80% range. Middle 80% range. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to come and say 100 plus 80 out of 2. Then I also come here and say 100 minus 80 out of 2. So this gives you 180 out of 2. What's 180? So this is 9. So this gives you, I have to get the 90th percentile. This is going to give me 1 minus 80, 20 divided by 2. It gives me 10, so the 10th percentile. So now I come and say P90, the 90th percentile is going to be equals to L1 plus. Usually when these questions are given, you're required to use the you can use the curve, because not very many marks attached to this to the frequency within this. Then I calculate and maybe get my answer. Then I also come here and say what's the 10th percentile. It's L1 plus 10 out of 100 n minus the cumulative frequency before out of the frequency within times the class. So yeah, I'll get the 90th percentile. I'll get the 10th percentile. Now I just subtract the value on the 90th percentile and the value on the 10th percentile. That's the middle percentage range. So with that, I think we've covered most of the concepts in for group data. I think we just don't have an example, and mean I'm going to put that after we've covered this section. So now we're going to look at an example on the percentile, finding the percentile, because I think it may be key for us to see a worked out example. Though, however, I'm going to just pause there. I'm going to use this, so I'm going to pause, then we shall work it out. So now, as promised, we're going to look at another example for now finding the percentiles. So now the question, let's say it's required in us to find the 80th percentile. So I'm going to fill the table here very fast, and we already know how to do that, so I'm going to pause. Alright, so now let's fill this table. Now let's go on and find the 80th percentile. Remember the formula for finding the percentile, maybe for n is going to be L1 plus n out of 100 n minus the cumulative frequency before to the frequency within times c, which is the class interval. Now, meaning to find the 80th percentile, we have to replace here with 80. Now, the first thing before I even do anything, I have to get the 80 out of 100 n. It's going to be 80 out of 100 times n, which is 50, like the summation of f. Actually, if you've not been following from the start, know that the n is a summation of all the frequencies. So now for this, we would get 40. Now when you get this 40, we come to the cumulative frequency column and see what's just above 40. It's going to be 42. So we mark out. Now you don't have to do this in your paper. This is just because I want us to like help us understand. But now doing this in your paper, it's going to make it a little crowded and disorganized. But this is just to show you and help you understand what exactly is going on. So finding the 80th percentile is going to be L1, the lower limit is 69.5 plus 40, which is the n out of 100 n. It's 80 out of 100 n. 40 minus the cumulative frequency before that class, which is 18. Then out of the frequency within here, it's 24 times the class interval, which is 10. Many students tend to forget this class interval when they're quoting the formulas. They usually just forget, and you end up actually losing all the marks because your answer, everything will be wrong from the start. So we have this plus 22 out of 24 times 10. So what do we end up having here? Now we have 78.6666. Told you I always try to round it off to a greater number of decimal places. Then I can have my final answer to 4 decimal places. So this is the 80th percentile. So I hope you see what I was saying, that when I say that 80th percentile is different from 80%. Someone who scored 80% it's a very different thing. But now when we get the 80th percentile, what does it mean? It means the position that below that mark, like that 80% of the people are below this mark. 80% of the people in this class are below 78.6%. But the 80th percentile is different from someone scoring 80%. Someone scoring 80%, that's their mark. But the 80th percentile means, so this the position, it's like the position. So it means the number of students, like 80% of the students are below this mark. Meaning anyone who has above this mark is in the top 20%. I don't know if this makes sense. Anyone above 78.6 is in the top 20% of the class. So that's why I told you last time that I can actually ask you and say the top 5%, what mark, maybe what was the pass mark, if only the top 5% passed. This is just someone trying to manipulate you into trying to understand. Did you understand what percentiles represent? So if I want the top 5%, what does it mean if I get the 95th percentile? It means, remember, we have said percentile. Okay, if you can remember P for position. But 95th percentile means 95% of the students are below that mark, meaning only 5% are above that mark. Okay, that's what they use in very many of the university grading systems and to set their pass marks. Because remember, for them, they don't set a pass mark, maybe saying if someone has a 90, that's a D1, or someone has an 80, that's a D1. They actually say maybe want the top 10% of the students to have a D1. So even if the best mark is a 50 or the best mark is a 70, they'll still have to get students with D1s. I don't know if that makes sense. It's not like static that it's a 90 or it's a 95. They just want a specific number of students. Maybe they want a top 10% to be D1s. So they're going to get the 90th percentile with that class. They maybe group the data, they form it into group data, and then when you get the 90th percentile, it's going to help you know the number of students who are below that mark. So 90% of the students are below that mark, meaning if you want the top 10%, everyone above that mark automatically maybe will get a D1. So I don't know, I've remembered to try to explain that. I hope it makes sense. Yeah, now we finish that.